to Sy Sez, our latest recruit to the lineup for Groovefest 2012. Welcome, Sy.
Hi there.
How you doing?
Very well, thank you. Thanks for having me.
No problem. Welcome to the fold, the family.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, man.
Good, good. I mean, we asked all the DJs this, but you know, it's a festival in the Caribbean. There's what's appealing about it other than the obvious?
I mean, yeah, it's really exciting. You know, it's kind of obviously it's a very exotic place. You don't see a lot of kind of house music events, or none that I know of anyway, that are kind of in this place and in this environment. So I think it's exciting for the music, and I think also the vibe that could potentially be created out there. You know, with the setting, and also the lineup for me is as exciting as the Dominican Republic. It might sound strange, but I think musically you guys are kind of like really got it on point. You know, you've got a kind of very good mixture of different artists who play kind of different music, but I think it all comes together as one groove kind of thing, which is...
Yeah, well that's the name of the game, so it's nice, nice to hear we're on the right page, so it's all good. Cool, so tell us a bit more about your musical history. So I know you're resident for Soul Heaven.
That's right, Soul Heaven there on the t-shirt there. So yeah, I'm a resident for them. I've been a resident for them for about 5-6 years. In Ministry of Sound, Matter in the O2 Arena, and just more recently at Pulse as well. I travel around, I'm very fortunate, I travel around the world, up and down the country, representing Soul Heaven as well. And I kind of came onto there about, like I said, about 6 years ago. I got brought through by a guy called Neil Pearce, who's kind of like a...
And this is who you did your sort of production collaborations with, didn't you, with Aaron Ross?
That's right. Yeah. They kind of brought me into the studio first of all, and then I branched off into a group called Aphrodisiacs, which is with my partner Gavin. But Neil and Aaron kind of first gave me my break about 7 years ago. They brought me on as a resident, a warm-up DJ for them at a club called Neighbourhood. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah. Ladbroke Grove.
That's right, Ladbroke Grove, which is kind of like in my hometown kind of thing. So I got started in there, and yeah, you know, like in the scene, it's like everyone kind of needs that break.
Of course they do.
You know, you can work hard, you know, you can have that hard work ethic, you can be as talented as you know anyone, but you kind of need that.
There's a certain element of luck in there as well.
So so
big up to Aaron.
Big up to Neil and Aaron. Yeah. So they kind of brought me through, and you know, schooled me and stuff, and the Soul Heaven kind of followed on from that really. So you know, I'm quite honoured to be part of it. You know, there's a good host of residents. And obviously, you know, I've played alongside Kenny Dope as well quite a lot, who's going to be at the Groovefest event. So
that was going to say, like, would that be one of your sort of most inspiring sets or opportunities? Who have you played alongside?
Yeah, I mean, like I say, representing Soul Heaven, I've been very fortunate. I've played alongside like my heroes who are masters at work. Who obviously Kenny Dope is one half a master at work with little Louis Vega. You know,
does it get any better than that, really?
Not really. I mean, throw India in the mix, and I mean, I performed alongside her as well. She sung "To Be in Love" and things like that. But I mean, the list is endless.
Nerves. How much do nerves enter that equation? You're about to come on with or warming up for.
Yeah, very much so. Very much so. I mean, but again, it's kind of I thrive on pressure and nerves. It's like I'm one of them people. Like if you put me in my bedroom and I mix into my wall, I'm not that good. Well, I don't think I am.
Well, the wall's not judging you.
Yeah, the wall's not judging me. But if you put me in front of like, you know, 2,000 people and you get, you know, the heart going and, you know, you start sweating in the hands.
It's healthy, I think.
That's it, definitely. I think, you know, it's a measure of anyone, you know, whether you're a footballer or a DJ, whatever you do, that bit of pressure and how you kind of react under that pressure. So, and I think if you stop getting nervous before a big gig, I think you kind of, you're losing the love. You're losing the love a bit. So.
And I know you're a Londoner. You know, you've been or you've witnessed the evolution of the scene as long as you've been, you know, old enough to enjoy it.
Sure.
And I mean, likewise with me. I mean, I know it's changed a lot. Like in terms of clubs that have, you know, been and gone. What is your favourite London hotspot? You know, it could be shut now, or it could be still going.
Past or present.
Yeah, past and present.
That's a good question because I mean, past. I'd say off the top of my head, one of my favourite venues was the club called the Key Club.
Which was, I couldn't say that. And the Cross, there was the whole...
Yeah, the Cross as well. I mean, the Key was like part of the Bagley's warehouse in King's Cross. But it kind of... flashing dance floor. I threw many a move on there, I must say. But no,
I think everyone did as they walked onto it. You felt like you had to
even if you couldn't dance, that's it. But like it was, you know, it is what it is, that club. It's like, you know, small, intimate, got a banging sound system in there, you got a little kind of few spaces to sit down, you got a bar over one side. And it is what it is. You just get in there and get down, man.
Days. But on the flip side of that, are there any new venues? That you... You think
well, I'm a resident at the moment for a venue called East Village, which is not quite new, but for me it's like, it's quite exciting to be a resident there. It's based in Shoreditch.
It's Great Eastern Street, isn't it?
Great Eastern Street, that's right. I mean, it's got a, you know, it's run by a guy called Stuart Patterson, who's a manager down there, and they've got a kind of a devout following. So I'm a resident in there with Neil Pearce for a night called Beat Players. We do that, and you know, I love playing in there. It's a basement space, so you go down underneath, big thumping sound system, so it's kind of like true to the kind of spirit of house, if you like. I'm also a resident at Plan B, which is on the other side of town in South London as well, where I do my Aphrodisiacs residency. And again, that club's recently had a refurb.
That's right, yeah.
So that's kind of, but for me, you know, in London at the moment, the parties that are really exciting me are the ones that are in these like kind of weird spaces, whether it be like a rooftop or a car park or warehouse.
Well, I was going to say, well, I mean, you're, as well as DJing, you know, you're also a promoter as well, and your warehouse parties have, you know, built up a really, really good following. Yeah, man. Really, really good crowd. Tell us a bit about. Well, we're trying to, with the warehouse parties, we're kind of just trying to bring things back to the, like, you know,
how
back,
it used to be.
Yeah, back to how it used to be.
Essence.
Back to the essence, back to the raw, whatever you want to call it. It's like, you know, it's house in London, touching back to your question, has become very much kind of broken up into a million genres. You got like soulful house, tech house, deep house, you know, progressive house. Like there's just a million and one different types. You know,
it's annoying. It's in a way, isn't it?
And I come from a background where, for me, I play. You know, people say to me, you know, what you play? What music do you play? I say I play house. I say, well, what type of house? It's like
house.
Good quality house. You know what I mean? If it's good, I'll play it. You know, so if it's got a good groove to it, you know. I'll draw for it. And with a warehouse party, it's kind of like, you know, there's no airs and graces about it. We don't release the venue till the very last minute. So it is actually very secret.
It's as close to that Chase and Stacey's video that we're ever going to get, isn't it?
And again, it's like, you know, we could ram it out, we could pack it out if we wanted to, but we keep it down to a certain amount, so there's enough space in there. It's like-minded people. We don't even promote it. I mean, it's kind of word of mouth, you know. Very much underground feel to it. And again, it's kind of like, you know, the DJs in there, you just play from, you can actually play from the heart. I mean, in London, it's kind of hard. It's getting harder and harder to play from the heart. You know,
it's saturated.
It's so saturated. You got to, you know, I step in some venues and you got to play anthems, or you're not going to get the crowd. And you know, I always say to anyone, and I've had it drummed into me, that your job as a DJ is to make the people in front of you dance. You know, a lot of DJs will put their head down and just play.
To hear that.
So you know, the warehouse parties kind of, we try to keep that spirit in there. And you know, you've been to one quite.
I've been to a couple myself, and. Yeah, it's just refreshing to see, you know, such a nice crowd, a crowd that knows their music.
Yeah, sure.
And just that whole, you know, that's such a nice vibe where, like you said, you know, DJs can really kind of let loose. And
does it give you an opportunity to, obviously you're Soul Heaven resident, but does it give you an opportunity to play differently? Or even who would you love to have play with you at your parties? You know, would that differentiate?
We've had some decent. I mean, we've got like myself and Neil. We do it mostly. We've had Spen play there. DJ Spen, also Charisma's played.
You didn't announce that, right?
We didn't even announce that. So for us to not have
without even
and we just had like, you know, special guest kind of thing. And you know, a lot of the time, a lot of these promoters in London, they'll say, "Our special guest to be announced on the night," and people kind of just and people just don't, you know, they don't read over it.
But people have got faith in it that you're going to deliver.
That's right, and we kind of did say that it was an international guest.
Because that's, you know, that is something special there, because, you know, most you know, promoters, you know, you kind of need, you know, you need acts and you want to announce it and shout about it, you know, so you must have a real kind of core following to be able to pull off an event without, you know, without kind of promoting it.
Or is it about proving yourself first so that people trust your you know,
I think so. It's very much to do with that as well. Like you say, it's hard to do it, but people kind of bought into what we've done now, and they know that, you know, they know what they're getting. If we kind of guarantee something, they know that we're not just like, you know, just chatting a load of rubbish. They know that it's going to happen. You know, we say to people like the tickets are going to sell out, or you know, people ring up and say, "Oh, I want 5, I want 10," and when we're telling you that they're selling out, they are selling out. It's not like we're doing it. Yeah, it's not a lie. They are.
Another 200 you're sitting on.
I mean, we had people that actually kind of found out where the venue was, and they were, I won't say the amount on film, but they were offering like 3-figure sums to just come through the door. And you know, again, we kind of just had to bite the bullet and be like, no, do you know what? Once everyone's in,
you need to keep it.
Yeah, the doors are shut and it's in it. And I think people like that as well. They buy into the fact that it's like-minded people. It's in a kind of intimate space, and
you're not selling out. It's not.
You're not selling out. And again, they know that. I think a lot of people know that sometimes in London, we got a bit of restriction on us musically, but in there we can kind of do what we want and play what we want because the crowd are kind of receptive to it. So.
Oh, sounds good. When's the next party? When can people come
secret.
and see you?
Secret. Yeah, that's it. As well as as well as promoting, as well as DJing, you know, you're also a producer.
That's right. Yeah.
Talk to us a bit about current, what you're working on currently. Past stuff.
I produce under the Aphrodisiacs name with my partner Gavin Peters, so I've got to big him up. And we're kind of still babies in the production game. We're about 3.5 years old now. We've had a lot of releases in that time. Actually, I'm quite surprised when I look back. We've released stuff on Soul Heaven Records, on Defected, on a label called Seamless, also on a few American labels. At the moment, we're just kind of doing a lot of work closely with Milk and Two Sugars. Excuse me, MN2S, who you might know them as now. They're kind of rebranded. Who are like one of the kind of leading lights in house music when it comes to label wise and agency wise. So. We kind of really upped our game now.
Well, they're all big labels showing you support.
Definitely,
that must be quite encouraging.
Yeah, so I mean, it's it's getting harder and harder to kind of make money,
of course,
from music sales. So it's a hard game, but it's
so
kind of
you have to wear many hats, which you
exactly.
do, a DJ, promoter, producer.
Well, that's another question. I mean, how important do you think it is for sort of aspiring DJs to be producing their own tracks? I mean, we've asked other DJs this question as well, but
what's your opinion on it?
You know what? It's quite sorry to say it, but I think they have to be. Now, back in the day, like when I was growing up, like you just spoke to Bobby and Steve, and one of my heroes and idols from back in the day, the first person I kind of saw playing the music I play now was Paul Trouble Anderson. And like across the pond, you had DJs like Frankie Knuckles, Tony Humphries, and they were just DJs at the time, especially people like Trouble and Tony Humphries. They were just DJs, but now it's like you kind of, as a DJ, you come to a brick wall, and the only way over that, you can get as many gigs as you want, but comes to a point where you're going to have to go into the studio because that kind of what takes you out further and what.
Do you think that separates the men from the boys? In terms
Definitely, but I think sometimes it's kind of like I think if it's not a natural progression, you can kind of tell it sometimes. Certain DJs feel like I have to do this, but they don't actually really want to do it. So, but no, I think now it's very, very important. But you know what? If you're a good DJ, you should have a good ear. So you should be able to produce music.
What kind of artists you working with at the moment?
At the moment, we've just got a release, our latest release, a track called Somebody Save Me, and we released with quite a well-known singer from Chicago called Nicole Mitchell. And she works very closely with people like Darjay and artists like that who are quite big in the house scene. So we just released that on MN2S. We're also doing a lot of work with some of the homegrown talent. I'm quite passionate about bringing
Team UK.
Bringing a younger. I mean, we've got just as much talent in London and the UK as anywhere in the world. So
I hear that.
A young artist that, funny enough, I met at one of your events back in the day, a guy called Arise. Josh.
Oh my gosh, Josh.
Brilliant sax player.
I heard him.
Freestyle saxophonist, get to know, Arise on the sax, big.
And he actually, he plays saxophone on some of our tracks, but he plays keyboards.
Keys as well.
For us. And, he's
talented, very talented.
I've got to send love to him because he's an amazing artist.
Self-taught as well.
That's it.
Huge.
And also a singer called Sabrina Child, who's from the Croydon area, another a gem of a singer as well. Working with her a lot, but we work with a lot of musicians as well. We work with a guy called Kaidi Tatham, who's out of Bugs in the Attic. He's quite a well-known jazz musician, and it's
so
exciting.
You've got a good pool of talent there.
Definitely.
Is there any, if you could have anyone kind of to work with in the studio, who would it be?
I don't know, that's
no pressure.
Hard one. Probably Louis Vega, I'd say. And maybe
top of the game,
and maybe his in-house musician.
But you touched on something there about Team UK. I mean, this is something I feel really strongly about because you see it in the commercial charts, like the whole Professor Green, Ed Sheeran example. They all scratch each other's backs across social media platforms, and it works.
Definitely.
You can just only got to look at the charts to see that. And
absolutely.
do you witness that in the dance scene as well? Is it more competitive or is it more collaborative? Are people kind of trying to push each other, or?
I mean, it's quite interesting actually because it's something I'm quite passionate about because it's getting a lot better. But to be honest, it wasn't very. People didn't really want to work together a lot. It's very much like I'm doing my own thing and.
Each their own.
And no one really brings anyone in, and it's something that I try and really strive to do. Is like I'm not.
Break down the barriers. Yeah. Would you say a reason for that would be is because the scene is was so fragmented and it's only starting to kind of
definitely
turn around now
definitely. And I think people are now, like you say, through social networking. And I think once people start helping each other and they see the benefits of it, you know, and again, you have to just look at the Americans and look at any hip hop artist or any people over in America or the house people. They stick together, they work together.
And the influence is you know, magnified.
And if one of them breaks through, they're bringing their boys through with them. It's not like, oh, this is my little piece of something and I'm going to hold on to it. And most importantly, I love what I do. Like, I love the music I play. I love the music I produce, and I love the scene. So when I'm old and grey, well, I am going grey already, but when I'm old, I don't want to be, I want to try and leave some sort of legacy behind if I can. And there's nothing more than I like when I see, a teenager, a 19, 18-year-old who's into house music. To me, that's a beautiful thing, and you don't see it enough. And
so you mentioned, you touched upon legacy. So let's, 10, 15, 20 years from now, how would you want your legacy to be remembered? How, when people talk about Sy Sez,
what does the future hold?
When people talk about Sy Sez, what would you like them to kind of associate with your name and your legacy?
Just good quality, really. I hope people. I would like to be remembered as a good DJ and a good producer and things like that. But also maybe someone that has helped a few people along the way as well. And I am really, really passionate about that, like trying to bring people together.
That's nice to hear.
And trying to help people out, and it's like, that's why with the Groove Fest thing, it's a coming together of many, many artists. And it's I do a lot of gigs and weekenders, and artists come in and you see them playing and they're out again. And I think with the Dominican Republic, I think there's going to be an element where at one point we're all there together.
Absolutely, for sure.
Yeah. So I can I'm already sensing a great energy from it. So and I'm a kind of energies person. So. So yeah, looking forward to it. But
I'll drink to that. Cheers to Groove Fest. So I know, Sy, you started out on pirate radio, which in our adolescence was huge to the dance music scene. It was a great platform for aspiring artists and DJs.
Yeah, definitely.
With the digital age, that might not so much be the case now, but you've managed to evolve, and you're on a legal radio station now. You've got your weekly show. So what advice would you give to aspiring DJs for getting that exposure, really?
Yeah, I mean, definitely strive to try and, like in this day and age now, it's easier than it's ever been to try and get onto radio. Back in the day when the underground radio was a big thing, or pirate radio as you call it, it was quite hard to break into it. Now it's like, there's millions on one internet online stations there, and also you can control your show a lot more now than you used to be able to. Normally you could just turn up, play, and whoever was listening at the time will hear you. Now you can, you can promote the show yourself. A lot of the internet stations, people aren't even actually going into a studio. They're kind of streaming it from home, so they can kind of build up their own following and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean.
So when did you start? What stations? How did it evolve?
I started on like many pirates, but in London there's too many to mention. I was kind of almost like I got about a bit, to say the least, and it was more about excitement at the time, because you kind of it was a bit mischievous, but
of course.
Changing venues every week.
Yeah, changing venues, and like never knowing if you're going to have your record bag nicked or something. That's enough to give you a racing heartbeat. But now it's like, I'm blessed now because the guy that started Kiss FM, Gordon Mack, who's quite a, he's a radio legend in this country.
Sure.
He kind of like headhunted me for one of his new projects, which was called Colourful Radio. Which is a few years ago now, which I'm on at the moment. I host a weekly show on there from 9 to 12. And it's kind of like,
what days?
Every Thursday from 9 to 12 on Colourful Radio.
And what's the FM thing?
Well, it's not actually on FM. We're going out on every kind of
digital
digital avenue you can think of.
Okay.
They are, from DAB to, mobile applications, to the iPad, to the internet. You can find us.
Tell us a bit about your set. What can people expect? What you play? How do you host your show? Any guests?
Yeah, I mean, I tried to do things like you say. Like I started off on pirate radio, and there's very much like, I didn't even host then. I just used to turn up. I just play, and like
no MCing,
nothing, and I might have sometimes a friend would come and they might give out the phone number, and that was literally
one
about
ring
it.
For the reloads, that kind of thing.
That's it. So and that was all house phones and that in them days. I'm showing my age now, but but now it's very much I'm trying to do things like I don't even mix on my new show. It's like 3 hours of it's more kind of based on presenting and based on it's more topical. I have a lot of live performances. I do a lot of acoustic stuff, a lot of interviews.
What guests? Tell us some people.
I've had Pevin Everett on my show, which is a, you know, it's an honour for me to interview someone like Pevin Everett. So many people. I've had Charisma on there. I've had Colonel Red perform live. There's so many people actually. I can't even think of it.
So there's discussion as well. It's not
a lot of talk as well. But we try, you know, we infuse the chat with the music. You know, we've had people like At Jazz and that on there, and we kind of get quite technical at times. And you know, sometimes people, you know, a lot of these DJs that I get on, normally they provide like a half an hour, like a mix for a normal station. Well, we try to, like, you know, just get them down and just really try and get into their mind a little bit and talk and stuff, and do as much live stuff as we can, because, you know, I've kind of got that platform now where, you know, I'm in a room where I've got 6 microphones.
And it's all about content, isn't it?
Yeah, it's all about content, and it, you know, you know, it's really kind of challenged me over the years. But, you know, on pirate radio, you kind of do it as one format.
It's limited, isn't it? That's it.
And you kind of got that little bit of underground swagger with you, whereas now it's kind of very much
legit.
above board.
Professionalism. And what, you just kind of had to learn these skills on the job. Was there any kind of shows you looked towards and said, oh, I was listening to, you know, a certain radio show and say, I could kind of, borrow a bit from that, and
definitely.
Just kind of a bit of trial and error.
Yeah, definitely a bit of trial and error, and, you know, I kind of listen to, like, would tune into like crazy weird radio stations on like the AM dial where there's hardly much music and just talking, and like the way they kind of fuse that in with the music. And I think, you know, like when you spoke to Bobby and that about in the old Kiss FM days, when I was younger and I used to listen to Kiss, especially on the Bobby and Steve show, actually, you had a sense of feeling that from the listener's point of view, that you were like in the studio with these people. You know, in my studio I have a co-host standard every week and maybe 2 or 3 guests, so you've got that kind of, like, you know, atmosphere. You know, if something happens, like if someone drops something, you know, it's not like we're all sorry for that. We just go with
of course.
So
people appreciate that. I think it's not so stuffy. It's,
definitely.
It's on their level.
And you know, I'd love to get the Groove Fest family up on the station and do a Groove Fest special. You know, it'd be nice.
We should get some steel band or calypso vibes going in the background.
Yeah, no, we'd love to.
But again, you know, going back to having to be the kind of all-rounder at the moment, it's like, if you're an aspiring DJ out there, it's like, unfortunately, just being a DJ isn't really good enough these days. You've got to be a DJ, you've got to be a producer, you've got to kind of have some form of podcast or radio show. And if you can, like, do your own club night as well, then do that as well.
It's a good networking opportunity, isn't it, as well?
On that note, I just wanted to kind of pick your brain about, you know, the London scene. What, apart from your own parties, what, you know, what parties have kind of got your attention at the minute, and you know, what kind of DJs are you kind of you know, looking up to? Yeah, got your eye on.
I mean, like, you know, in our scene, it's kind of like, obviously you've got the parties I'm involved with, the Aphrodisiacs one, the Beat Players one. They're very, very exciting parties at the moment, going back to that kind of like essence of house. But now, due to the kind of the splitting of genres and stuff, there's a lot more. I mean, there's a party called Nyamba Deep in London, so check that out if you're into more of that kind of Afro deep sound, which is in a basement at Plan B, which is quite an interesting party because it's got a very unique sound of house. It's very well, it's not even jacking, it's more Afro. It's very South African. It's like, you know, it's very deep and stuff like that. So, which you don't really hear a lot in London. And
is that a monthly at Plan B?
That's a monthly, down there, and they have, like, you know, regular guests there that, you know, you see the guests and you're kind of like, who's that? But when you really look at them and you do a bit of research, there, you know, in London, it's too easy for promoters to just book a name that everyone knows, and you kind of know what you're going to get with them. So, you know,
it's quite brave. That's another whole other topic. Of, like, a promoter to take that brave stance of, you know, a DJ that you believe in but might not be that well known. But
definitely. But again, they're kind of like, you know, the parties that really excite me at the moment aren't really the name brand ones. They're more these underground ones that, you know, they might be in a warehouse. Definitely. And it's kind of like, again, you kind of don't know what you're going to get as well. So there's that bit of element of suspense there. But
so do you think all these kind of new warehouse parties will kind of kill off the club scene?
You know, I reckon it could, you know, definitely put a dent in it, without a doubt. And even now, you kind of see a lot of these clubs that are coming. I mean, I was playing in a club called Pulse last week, and that's almost like being in a warehouse.
That's something new one,
it's just at the foot of Blackfriars Bridge. But it's kind of like, you know, it's got that kind of brick feel to it and a very industrial feel. But it's kind of chic at the same time. So
shabby chic.
Shabby chic, I heard that from you, Courtney. So, and I mean, it's a great term, and I think that's kind of describes it the best, you know. But definitely the secret parties are the ones. You know, I play at you know, parties. There's a party that I play at quite a lot in Bournemouth called God Made Me Funky, where it's like the half of the day you're out on a boat sailing around, and then they come back to like an old hotel which is set up in the hills, and it's like they've actually converted it into a club, but it's not advertised or anything. And it's just like crazy. You know, I like playing in crazy, weird spaces. You know,
I think it attracts a certain type of person as well, doesn't it?
Definitely.
It keeps the rabble out.
I think London needs that more because, you know, the city we live in, it's an amazing city. You know, you could be standing somewhere and like literally, you know, a few yards away from you could be, you know, could be a party going on.
Of course, yeah. You wouldn't even know about it.
It's a great city, isn't it?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, Sy, I wanted to, you know, talk to you about the Aphrodisiac launch party where you had Osunlade, Plan B.
Yeah.
Tell us a bit about the event and why you decided to kind of launch it with Osunlade.
Yeah, well, we've been given an amazing opportunity to bring the Aphrodisiacs brand into like the club arenas basically, and we've got invited on by Plan B, which is quite an established, well-respected club, and we're going to be doing bi-monthly there. So we had the party in October. We launched with Osunlade from Yoruba Records, who again is one of the, like, you know, the main people in the house scene in anywhere in the world, and a very, very unique artist, both in his DJing and his production as well. And he's one of them people from a promoter's point of view. You know, he's a hot ticket. You know, if you book him, you're going to sell out. And like, you know, we was actually amazed at how fast the tickets sold for him, and it was like a brilliant platform. It was a total sellout event. You know, it was like queues going down the road, and a lot of people disappointed, which I can only again apologise for. But they couldn't get in and stuff.
That's what you want for a promoter.
Definitely, And it was a great, you know, platform for us to promote our Aphrodisiacs brand and our club night. We've got this coming Saturday, the 10th of December, we've got an artist called D-Tron, who are flying over from Switzerland, and also he's going to be joined by one of the deep house gurus from England.
Is that for the beat players?
No, this is for Aphrodisiacs. A guy called Charles Webster will be joining D-Tron. So we're kind of taking Aphrodisiacs one is kind of a little bit more kind of, not, you know, it's still got a sprinkle of soul on it, but it's very much a bit deeper. It's a bit techier, but
that's
again,
where you're at. So
that's kind of where we're at, and you know, that's where we're gravitating towards with the Aphrodisiac sound. We've got people booked in for the new year, people like Jimpster, Huxley, and people like that. So yeah, we're quite excited about it. So yeah, check us out, man. Plan B for Aphrodisiacs presents. Yeah.
Brilliant.
And moving on from that, 2012, what does it hold for Sy Sez and Aphrodisiacs?
Like I say, we're just carrying on with the club night, and also a lot more productions as well. We recently built a new recording studio just in the summer time, so we're really kind of excited about that. There's a lot of stuff happening, and DJing wise, just looking forward to Groove Fest, and you know, it's going to be a good year, 2012. It's supposed to be the year that the world ends. I heard, but
predicted on the Mayan calendar.
If we go out in Dominican, I'll be happy with that.
That's it. What a place for the world to end.
Then we've got our Groove Fest, like quick fire questions.
Okay.
They're all quite random.
Right.
But Desert Island Disc, if you were stuck on a desert island now.
It's a really tough question.
It is.
Probably musical youth, I'd have to say, because it just brings me back to my childhood, and it brings me back to vinyl, you know.
Yeah.
You know, I always was around vinyl, but it's the first kind of vinyl that I had in my hand, and I've put on a needle. And
do you still play vinyls?
When I can.
Have you got a collection at home?
I've still got a collection, and I still do collect. I think it's very important for any DJ to still collect vinyl. You know, people. You know, you hear these people like, oh, vinyl's dead, but trust me,
it sounds different, doesn't it?
It's never going to die, vinyl. It never will. It's like, you know, the digital ages took us to somewhere else, and you've got to move with the times. But you know, you can't. I always say it's like with the digital stuff, it's like it's not as personal.
You can't hold it.
Can't hold it. You can't stroke it.
Can't read the sleeve notes.
Can't smell it. There's nothing like the piece of
smell the dust.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, but you know, from time to time, unfortunately, a lot of clubs you go in now, they haven't even got Technics set up.
I know.
So, or which turntables set up, which is quite disturbing.
Well, we will do a Groove Fest. Yeah. Don't worry about that.
Okay, cool, brilliant, man. So yeah, maybe I'll bring the old musical youth album out for.
Maybe you can play an old school rare groove random set for us at some point. Yeah. Because that would be another interesting to get DJs to play, like, you know, inspirational sets.
Yeah, no, they are. We got Kenny Dope playing a disco set.
Oh wow!
So you can indulge your passions that aren't necessarily house.
And I think it's a good platform for them, right, to do it as well.
Yeah, for everyone. I think. Cool. Okay, so if you weren't DJing or producing, what do you think you'd be doing now?
Cool, I don't know, that's a hard one.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe
Don't even want to think about it.
Playing football, probably. I reckon.
Yeah,
I'll probably be playing football.
Yeah.
We were coming with.
Or driving a black cab. Even though they do my nutting on a daily basis, but give a license to stop in the middle of the road. Yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah, proudest achievement doesn't have to be musically, but today.
Proudest achievement. Musically, it's definitely being part of Soul Ever and playing alongside Masters at Work, Kenny Dope and Louis Vega. That was like one of my biggest inspirations musically in life. Proudest moment out of that is probably being there at the birth of my nephew, little Amari.
Wow.
So I mean, so yeah, it's amazing. It's an amazing thing. You can't really compare the two, but yeah, probably one of those two, definitely.
No, that's all good. That's great. And final one, have you got a party trick?
I have, but it's a bit too rude to say on camera.
No,
that's what we like. That's what we like.
Honestly, it's too rude.
You've got to be over 18 to come to.
No, I've got a party trick.
Well, do you know what? This isn't the first one that was said. That maybe we're just going to have to ask this one in the Dominican and get video footage of it happening.
But I'm an amazing juggler. So if you see me with a few bottles of spirits, then and I got to thank Tom Cruise and Cocktail for that. So I'll go for, but yeah, no, juggling, is that a party trick? I don't know.
Yeah, that's definitely a party trick.
Definitely,
especially if it's eggs at 6 o'clock in the morning.
That's it. Yeah, 6 of them.
Good one. Yeah, exactly.
We'll hold him to the. I was going to say that. We'll hold him to that at Groove Fest.
That's it.